Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the launch of Phillies Red Network podcast. This is the very first episode, and tonight I have a very special guest, a very good friend of mine, Jamie, who you will all recognize. He is all over the place. You see him at the games, you've seen him on TV, at different events for Eagles Autism, and more. It is Jamie, the Philly sports guy. Thanks, Jamie, for being here tonight.
I appreciate you having me, and congratulations on getting this up and going. It's not the easiest thing in the world to do.
Thank you. Yes, I'm new at this, so it is definitely a learning experience, but I'm excited about this. And yeah, I'm honored for you to come on and be my very first guest. So thank you so much.
Happy to be so.
So, let's see. You and I have known each other for about 2 years now, almost. And I think you were at Dolan's, which you
My
called,
living room.
yes, your living room, when we were first connecting, when you were posting about baseball during some of the games. And then we finally met up at the NLCS game four for the Phillies back in 22. That was fun. That was an awesome game.
Yep. That whole run was amazing. So
Yes.
just being able to kind of do all that, and uh yeah, you actually had really good seats. I went down there. I was going down to kind of uh you know taunt some of I guess it was Atlanta at that point. Was it divisional series or was it the NLCS?
NLCS, it was the pods.
So it was the Padres. Yeah.
Yeah, we were in Diamond Club, and I was like, just stay here, just stay here.
I'm like, yeah, that doesn't work that way. They know I don't have that ticket, so
Exactly. But I tried. I was thinking of you.
I appreciate it. Uh, but it was, I mean, that was, those were incredible games, and they were on a great run. And uh, it's interesting that that was really the first time we had met because I think we had passed each other kind of a few different times. That we had a number of friends in common.
Yes, agreed. Agreed. It's so funny how that works. It's such a small world. But yeah, we do. We've got a couple people, mutual friends. And yeah, that was a fun night. That was awesome. Um, so, Philly sports guy, tell me about this because you're such a great person and you're such a great guy as the Philly sports guy. How did that even begin?
To be honest, it was one of those things. I've been getting painted up for Eagles games forever, and I finally got recognized at an Eagles game where they spent a lot of time showing me on the screen for Fox, and it was during a playoff game, so everybody got to see me, and it was I got a lot of notoriety at that moment, and I had been painting up for like you know about 15, 20 years at that point, I guess. And I came back and a production company was like, "Hey, we want you to do this commercial for us." And so I went in and I did that commercial. It was for a charity, and after them doing the shoot with me, they're like, "Wow, man, your energy is like amazing. You're like the Philly sports guy.
Oh,
You should see
wow.
if that name's available." And it was. And they said, if you're interested, we'll teach you how to do social media, and give you like the skill because I think that this could be a brand. And ultimately, they started to teach me a little bit about social media. I mean, the first time that I had ever gone viral, I had people coming up to me like, "Oh, you went viral," and I was like, "What does that mean?"
Oh, wow.
I don't have, I don't. I What does that mean? And so ultimately, they taught me what all of those terms were and got me on, Instagram. I was on Facebook, but I started to learn Instagram and TikTok and, Twitter. And all of a sudden, next thing you know, they're like, okay, this is what you got to do. Now you just got to do it every day. And it was hard to start, but ultimately I started to continue, and now it's like second nature to me.
Now this is you. So this is your full-time job at this point.
Yes.
Correct? Yes. Yes. So you left working, quote unquote, at a day job to be able to do this. And you're everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, I had my own business,
Mhm.
so it wasn't like it was, the guy was a chimney sweep and a stonemason, and anybody who knows uh, being like a stonemason or anything like that, it's hard work. It's like picking up rocks and putting them down, and it doesn't matter if it's a brick, a block, or a stone. It's hard work, and I was, that work was not fulfilling to me. So when they said, "Hey, we'll teach you how to do this," and it may or may not work into money, I was like, "Okay, we'll see what happens." And I started to do these games, and it wasn't just I'm not just the Eagles guy, so I had to start doing Flyers games, and you know, then next thing you know, I got Phillies games and Sixers games, and interestingly enough, the Phillies are probably my second largest base. It's Eagles and Phillies. I mean, obviously the Phillies take up most of the summer,
Yeah.
but it wasn't so hard to get to the games. You could buy uh the passes, and you could go for it was like an entire season was like $5 a game. So I started to go to every game and just painting my face and taking pictures with people and making the videos. And next thing you know, it's like, that with Girardi, we weren't doing real well. And I did it for like a year and a half, but I had some great content, especially with Mets fans,
Yeah.
because Mets fans are always interesting. They're an interesting group, and and then ultimately we had the run in 22, which, if you remember, didn't start off so great.
No.
It was, we weren't doing really well. They had to fire Girardi, and next thing you know, all of a sudden we went on this winning streak, and still it wasn't a ton of people at the ballpark. It was like we were getting about 20,000 people, 22,000 people. Uh, and then next thing you know, we got into the playoffs and we beat St. Louis in 2 games. And then we went to Atlanta, and I was down in Atlanta for those first 2 games. And then we came back home, and it was a mob scene. It went from
Mm.
22,000 to 48,000 like overnight.
Wow.
And and you heard how loud it was. It
Yeah.
was one of those situations where it was deafening, and the electricity was amazing in that ballpark, and it propelled the Phillies to, ultimately the World Series.
Yeah. Oh, you're, oh my goodness, you're not kidding. I can remember that night when you and I met at game 4, Scott and Larry talking about, this was the loudest that they had heard it. And, for as palpable as it was for us in the stands, yeah, I mean, I can't even imagine what kind of energy and excitement that created for the team. You
Oh, yeah, I mean, it was, they had even said it. It was hard for the opposing teams to be able to focus,
Mhm.
that it was so loud and so deafening and so much, that wound up, like they couldn't handle it. It was just way too much.
Yeah.
And it's funny because we obviously won game 4 pretty handily. Game 5, if you remember, was like a ugly rainy day, and we were losing that game
Yeah.
all game long. It was like 2-1, and it was like the 8th inning. I won't ever forget it. I'm in the 8th inning, and I would always go and I hit there certain spots in the ballpark at certain times. And the guy who was there in the front row of the outfield, he's like, man, you need to sit right here. This is where you got to sit. And I was yelling at Soto because I'm one of those guys that likes to. Uh, I'm not somebody who's going to be crude. And there was a lot of people yelling at Soto, to cursing at him and things like that. And that's not me. But I found out that Soto's mom, when he was with Washington and they won the World Series, his mother was cooking spaghetti for the team, like almost on a nightly basis.
Wow.
So it was like one of those things. So I remember, it's like I remember in the 8th inning, I'm down there and I'm yelling at him like, "Hey, I guess your mom's not cooking dinner for these guys, are they? Or is
Oh my
she?"
god.
And when like a player's never going to acknowledge a fan yelling, but I caught it. I know he could hear me because he did one of those Like he didn't want to turn his head around, but he was trying everything he could to see who that came from,
Oh,
because
wow.
obviously somebody was paying a little bit of attention. Because
Yeah.
like I said, I do my research. I like to find out all those little things, and if I can catch them off guard for a minute, that's all. Sometimes that's all you need.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I remember them. I know I didn't see this, but I watched it once after it all happened. Obviously, Harper is up to bat, and I guess they showed me in the outfield. They
Mm,
showed somebody else with a Harper like fat head, and then the next thing was the home run.
wow.
And so that video is out there, and it's like you see me, the Harper's fat head, and then the home run. Bang, 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 and
Wow. Mm,
it was just it was an amazing experience. And we were going to the World Series, and that day, obviously, like I said, it was raining and all this other stuff. John Middleton accepts the NLCS trophy. He's
yeah.
showing it to everybody as he's about to go over the fence. He's like, and I know him because I'm in the ballpark every day or just about every day, and he's like, Jamie, hold this for me as I get over the fence. And there I'm here holding the trophy. And I'm like, somebody take a picture of this, please, and text it to me. And some guy comes up to me and he's got his arm around me. I'm
Right.
holding the trophy. I have no idea who that guy is, but all it is, I'm holding that NLCS trophy the
Oh,
night we won it.
I
And that
remember
was
that. You were like, who is this guy? I don't know who
no
this
idea who this
guy
guy
is.
is, but he's up on my wall. He's definitely there. Actually, I had somebody do a different rendition of it where actually it's as I don't know if I could point it out there. It's like right there, right behind me, right here. And they put it's
Okay.
now a fanatic
Oh,
holding on to me rather than some guy.
wow.
So, but he's
That's
hanging up on my wall for all time.
wow. So you like that's incredible to me. Like, um, I feel like you just must have like this running Rolodex of just these amazing moments that you have been fortunate enough to and be a part of, encounter. Um, is it like that for you? Like, do you think about that?
It's I don't really think about it like that. I'm it's always exciting to be there for a lot of different things, but
Yeah.
there's also a lot of interesting stories that go along with that. For instance, I last year's playoffs, when Stott hit the grand slam,
Yes.
I had my son at the game,
Yeah.
and my son got painted up as the Philly sports kid and walking around with me like he owned the place, like it was amazing.
Of
But
course.
at that time, we went and grabbed some ice cream, and he wanted to climb the wall in the kids area. And it's like the seventh inning or whatever, and I'm back here climbing the wall, and he's back here climbing the wall, and the grand slam occurs.
Gosh.
So I never got to see the grand slam. I'm sitting there watching on TV. When I made my video, I made the phone up real close so you could tell that it was only me that you could see because you couldn't see anybody else, right? Because there wasn't anybody else around. He was up on the wall, and I'm sitting there with him watching him rather than watching the game.
Oh,
It was a funny situation to be a part of. It was like, wow, there was a grand slam, and here it is. I'm with him.
yeah. So
So,
after the fact, I mean, did you guys get out there and celebrate? Did you have time to do that or
well, we won that game, which was great, and he got to get on TV a number of times. He was kind of like on my hip where they were doing interviews with me and such. So it was a fun experience for him to see. It was like uh, bring the kids to work day. Almost where it was just he got to see a little bit about what it is that I do on a daily basis.
that's very cool, very special. Now, does he ever you know, describe his dad as, my dad is the Philly sports guy. Does he ever
Sometimes
he's proud?
I had to there was one time I'm there and he brought his friends over and he's like, he's introduced, he's mentioning their names and this is the man. I'm like, yeah, I'm his dad. You know what I mean? I'm James's dad. I'm not the man. You know what I mean? I know that you guys follow me. I appreciate all that. I'm James's dad. So let's when I'm at home, if you want to ask some questions, I'm more than happy to answer. But
Right.
I'm James's dad, so because I don't want it, I don't want there to be any confusion.
Right. I can appreciate that. Yeah. But he's got to be so proud of you, like,
They're not my kids are not very sports oriented, and it's probably my fault because, you know, I get very excitable and loud, and when they're young kids, uh, their mother would say that I would scare them
oh,
because I would go like if they hit a home run, all of a sudden I'd yell.
yeah.
While you're not, I'm watching the TV and they're playing on their phones or doing whatever. And next thing you know, I'm yelling,
Mhm.
like excited or whatever, but it would scare them.
Yeah.
So that may have turned them off on sports in general. My son now is starting to turn a little bit more. He's like, yeah, he likes doing it. He likes part of like getting painted up, getting some of that attention. That when
Mhm.
he's there with me, he gets put into the pictures and everything, and so it's fun for him in that regards. My daughter not interested in a little bit.
She's doing the girl thing.
Right. Yeah,
Yes.
don't she don't want to paint her face. She don't want anything. Don't put anything in my hair. If you want me to go to the game, I'll go to the game. But I'm bringing my phone and I'm going to play on my phone rather than watch most of the game.
Yeah. I get it. That's how my youngest would be. He would be sitting there in his own little world. He wouldn't be paying much attention at all. So I totally
Right.
get that.
Right.
So yeah. So if you had to say, what would you if you had to name like your top three best moments? Like for example, you went to the Super Bowl with the
I did.
Eagles. What are some of your most memorable moments in this journey as the Philly sports guy?
So it's there's two different things because like I was at the 2008 World Series, but I wasn't the Philly sports guy then. So watching that occur, I was at Game 5, and that was such an amazing moment, such an amazing time. Hey, we're in a pouring rain, watching every pitch, getting soaked and drenched, and then they finally are able to tie it up. And they says, "Okay, we're just going to postpone everything." And then 3 days later, it was like they hit the pause button on a cassette tape, and then we're able to finally hit the pause button again, and everything got went started back up.
Yeah.
And at 9 o'clock at night, because it was only a couple innings, we're celebrating the world championship. So that's like number one on my list.
Right.
Absolutely. Uh, Watching the Eagles beat the 49ers for the NFC Championship game was probably number two on the list.
Mhm.
And then the Harper home run. That Harper home run in the NLCS in Game 5 in 22 was probably number three. And both those, because it was such an amazing thing going to the World Series and the Super Bowl in the same year.
Right.
Within months of each other, actually.
Right.
So and then on top of that, the MLS, the Union,
Yeah.
they had their Eastern Conference championship too. So it was like literally the Eastern Conference champion for the Union, the NLCS for the Phillies, and then ultimately the NFC championship game with the Eagles, and then the Super Bowl, which was great for about 58 minutes.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah. So how is it when you do travel to other cities? Do you get a decent amount of attention? Do a lot of people, as you're doing this more and more, familiar with you in other cities?
Yes.
Yes.
Uh, I have people come up to me all the time. And it's mostly kids in other cities, but they they come up and they say, "Man, I love your content." And I know that when they say that, they're they're haters on me when they're talking, but the fact that they follow me at all is awesome. So there's usually a lot of kids that like, hey, and then you see the adults that like, are you the one that I see on TV all the time? And I'm like, yeah, that's me. They're like, yeah, my kid says that you're famous. Yeah, I'm not really that famous. It's just, but that's how it's equated when you see me on TikTok and on Instagram all the time, and then you see me on television, and then the the Super Bowl. I was on part of a Super Bowl commercial. You
Right.
know, those those are big deals. So they think, oh my God, you're famous, and I'm just a normal guy. I'm just a normal fan like everybody else is. I just wear different makeup.
Right. Right. Exactly. So what is your goal? Ultimately, like what are your hopes for being the Philly sports guy? How far do you want to take this? Are you looking to you know, gain a contract, sponsorship? Like
Well,
what?
I have certain sponsors now. I mean, obviously, my initial goal was to make this a career. Like the hardest part about doing this is, how do you make money being a fan?
Right.
Because ultimately, I go to games and I'm not a reporter. You
Right.
know, ultimately, the one guy who goes to just as many games, if not more games than I do, throughout sports is John Clark.
Mhm.
John Clark gets paid to go do to all these games and is reporting on all these. And although I am good at writing, I don't ever have the time because I'm always taking pictures. I don't get to watch the game as thoroughly as somebody who could do it up in the press box or somebody like on the sidelines or anything.
Right.
It's a different experience for me all the way around, where I try to energize people. I try to get them excited. I try to, everybody wants to take a picture and kind of use that as one of their mementos for the game. And I try to oblige as much as possible. And in the process of that, I lose
Yeah.
some of the game. Like I don't get to see many, some of these games. But that's part of the fun for me. Like
Mm.
I enjoy bringing the energy to a game. I enjoy the fact that I get a little bit of carte blanche to be able to get people excited and oh, okay, I can go sit here for a minute here and engage with fans, and then I can go over here and engage with fans, and and that in most cases they are excited to see me.
Right.
There are some that aren't, but it's different.
Right. I gotcha. I understand. So speaking of kids, there was the Eagles Autism event at Barnaby's last spring, and I know that that's coming up for this year, a couple days. Right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, it is. I know that they reached out to me. I haven't had a chance to put it on my calendar yet, but I know that it is coming up soon.
Yeah.
And I was at something yesterday, in fact, down in Delaware. Another where I was a bartender for the Eagles Autism, one of another team down there. So this year, instead of doing a lot of my own stuff, I've been doing a lot more for other teams, and just because it all goes to the same spots, and it was one of those things where things were a little bit different this year. It was just a lot of travel and a lot of being all over the place, and I just didn't have the one thing I've learned about charity is that there's not a lot of people that are going to help you.
Mm,
So I wanted to be able to help other people rather than try to take on a big responsibility of an event on my own.
right. Now, when you say not a lot of people that are willing to help you, you mean as far as like going out and getting people to participate and
So
donate?
anytime you're dealing with an event and putting together an event, especially when it's for charity, everybody wants to help,
Right.
but they don't want, like they don't want it to impede in their lives.
Mhm.
And it's so difficult to put together an event, any event. Like you need to have people to help. And ultimately you wind up like I said, you wind up doing everything yourself, and then everybody likes to show up for the event and they help financially, which is what people mean when they want to help. They want to help. they want to donate some money. They want to be part of the event. They don't really want to help you get together the events, and you need to really have a team behind you. And the hardest part is, you know, putting together that team and then making sure that everything happens the way you want it to happen and such like that. And it's a lot of responsibility that I just didn't want to take on this year because I have so much other stuff going on. I just didn't want to uh, do my own events. I'll let everybody else do their events and I'll show up to them
Right.
and support them. And
Right.
I feel like it's doing the same thing without a lot of the responsibility.
Yeah. 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 Definitely a lot less timely for you in some respects, but just as it, if not more effective.
Right.
Yes.
Because like I says, when I'm there, everybody's excited that I'm there, and we get to raise a little bit of money, and I get to do share some of my expertise with the people running that event. So, because I know what they're going through, I've done it firsthand, and as much help as you think that you're going to get is not the help that you get,
Right.
and you're over here, and you're over here, and you're over here, and it makes for it pretty challenging.
Right.
So, and I like to be able to share that support and share those stories and let them know that they're doing an amazing job. And because charity is thankless. It is
Yeah.
thankless.
Yeah.
And that's the hard part. You get the one thank you from, for the Eagles Autism. Obviously, it's from Jeff Lurie, and he gives a big thank you to everybody one time, and you feel good about that, and you don't really do the charity for the thank you. You do it for your own self gratification on that. But sometimes it's hard. You still like you're putting in all of this work and all of this energy, and it's nobody's there to tell you, hey, you are doing a good job, even if you don't get the turnout you want, even if you didn't get the opportunity to raise as much money as you did it, and
Exactly.
you're going to be able to learn from it and make it easier next time around.
Yep. Yep. Agreed. Agreed. So, speaking of the Eagles, I'm just wondering, um, how was how was it for you when Jason retired and Fletch? What were those?
So I mean, I didn't think he was going to retire this year. I thought he was going to hold out for one more year, and then I remember I was taking a plane that day. Uh, where was I going? I was going to. It was a. I guess it. Yeah, I think I was going. Actually, I was going down to Miami
Mhm.
for a Flyers game,
Oh,
and they
that's right.
he came on and he's like, the first 10 minutes was him just trying to compose himself,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh, I'm gonna miss my plane,
Mm,
to watch this, and it's he's been here for so many years, and it's I wear his pants when I'm all dressed up as an eagle, and I I remember trying to buy my brother his jersey like 10 years ago,
mhm,
and I remember looking around and I couldn't find anywhere to get it. And like social media wasn't the same. Jerseys have gotten much, much bigger here within the last maybe 6, 7 years,
mhm.
where now you can get just about any guy. But like 10, 11 years ago, you couldn't just get every guy. You got like the quarterback and a couple of the receivers, maybe a tight end, and then that was it.
Right.
And I remember trying to find it, and I had one of the guys finally tell me, he's like, "Listen, you might have a better chance emailing him and seeing if he'll give you a jersey."
Wow.
So ultimately, I finally did get one, and I feel like I was one of the first ones with his jersey,
Wow.
and it was the China made. It's like it's all falling apart now. I still have it. It's never something I would ever wear, but because it was supposed to go to my brother, and it was like a triple X, and it was barely an extra large.
Oh, wow.
So it was just like, okay, this is
Yeah.
whatever. I got it. So I still have that jersey, and
Yeah.
But it's kind of funny how much a difference a few years make,
Yeah.
where I'm having somebody tell me I might be better off having him give me a jersey than me try to find it somewhere, to him being a Hall of Famer.
Yeah. Yeah. That's unbelievable. And then you've got the old original in the closet. That's so funny.
Exactly.
So yeah, that I oh my goodness, that was a rough day.
It
I
was.
I cried.
But it's he had a great run here, and you know did it end maybe the way he wanted to? I'm sure it
Oh,
didn't. I'm sure he would have much rather gone out on top. But it's time for the next moment, the next phase of his life. I
yeah,
mean, that podcast, he's got the best podcast in the country right now, next to Joe
yeah,
Rogan's.
yeah.
He had put his entire family on the map. It was like, if it wasn't for Jason Kelsey, it you know, would would his brother have a girlfriend?
Right.
Would his mother been able to get all of the play that she was able to get, and the father get all the play that he was able to get at the Super Bowl a couple years ago and things like that? Would his wife be as well known as she is now? Without, I mean, so it really is an amazing situation that he's kind of done. Maybe he'd still have his Super Bowl ring, as that's the kind of story
Oh,
that's going around right now.
I
Yeah.
know. I know.
But I mean, it's awesome to see how he was able to take football
Mhm.
and make it so much more
Abs-
beyond that, and that's all because of Jason.
Yeah.
Like I said, his brother probably wouldn't have a girlfriend if it, you know that
Right.
one of the most famous girlfriends in the world.
Yeah.
So it's like it's all very interesting, and I'm really happy for him, and interested to see how this goes from here on out.
Yeah. Yeah. So the guys on 94 were talking about the idea of Prime needing somebody for Thursday nights and talking about what a great place that would be for Jason to land in broadcasting. What do you think of that?
I'm not sure he's a broadcaster.
No.
I don't think so. I think that there are many other ways for him to do his thing. Like, I think the NFL could hire him as being like a fan liaison,
Yeah.
and just going to different games, and you know hanging with the fans. Like,
Yeah.
he was so excited to go to Buffalo and jump through a table.
Exactly.
It was, uh, he's so into dealing with the fans,
Yeah.
and I feel like even in the Eagles organization, he raises so much money for the Eagles Autism Foundation. Like, he should be a vice president of
Right.
that. He should be a vice president of the Eagles Autism Foundation and part of fan relations to both the Eagles and the NFL. I,
Yeah.
I think that there's so many different things. I don't know that he needs to go into broadcasting. Why pigeonhole yourself to that? Because broadcasters, I mean, everybody thinks that broadcasting is fairly simple, that you get to go and you work one day a week, and
No, it's a lot.
no, so much more involved. You have to do
Yeah.
so much homework that
Yeah.
nobody knows about.
Yeah.
Uh, and and I don't know that you want to. I would rather him not take that much time to do that.
Right.
Now, I don't tell anybody else how to live their life, but I think that it would be, like I said, he's got his own podcast. He's
Yeah.
doing his own thing, and I would rather not see him forced or stuck in one spot.
Yeah. I agree listening to you. I mean, I thought it was a neat idea of like, I think he would be great, being out there and being involved in broadcasting, but what you're saying, I mean, oh yeah, he's so versatile and he's so good with people that yeah, there's just any number of avenues that he could take that he would be phenomenal in,
Right,
definitely.
and I think that's where he's better suited. I think that being in the forefront rather than in the background. which is where I think announcers are. I think that even a color commentator, like it would be amazing to hear some of his stories, and of course, listen, it there's lots of money in that. You know what I mean? Think of Tom Brady. Tom Brady's going to be making more money broadcasting than he did as a quarterback most times. Yeah, most years. So
Yeah.
it's going to, that's always hard to, because you have to support your family. But
Absolutely.
I don't know that that's, like I said, out of all the places I could see him, broadcasting isn't necessarily top on the list.
Gotcha. Interesting perspective. I think you're probably not alone in that. Um, so all right, so the Phillies, what are you thinking of this year? Not as slow of a start as we've had in the last few years, still a little bit slow. We've definitely a lot of discussion about Rojas. And what are your thoughts for this season? What's your prediction for them?
I have them winning the last game of the MLB season in general, and in late October, and us having a parade. That's what I think. I think it ends that way. I think that the medium start is a little bit more of, okay, we were able to get some lighter teams, like teams that haven't started so hot
Right.
off, off the bat, rather than last year. We started out really hard. It was a tough season in the beginning.
Yeah. Agreed.
So, and then of course we had injuries. I mean, Reese Hoskins was hurt. Uh, Harper wasn't back yet until late May. You had a slow start from Turner, who was in his first year. You had, there Suarez, Ranger Suarez wasn't here yet because he was having issues with, his passport or whatever. So
Right.
there were a lot of different things going on that kind of forced us into that position. Now that everybody's here, we're doing better.
Yeah.
Obviously, sweeping the Rockies, we better have, you know what I mean? They tried to give one away, and that's going to happen sometimes. But
Right.
ultimately, and now 3 games against the White Sox, which have won 3 games in 18 so far. So my expectation is that we want to sweep them too. You want to win all of those games. You don't want to give any away for any reason. But ultimately, you can't win a championship in April. You have to make sure you can put it all together and be going and trending in the right direction in late September, and then just carry it through all the way through October.
So now, when it comes to all of that, 162 games, are you, because there's been so much discussion, some people focus more on postseason, some people focus more on division. Um, what's your thoughts on that? Are you more,
I I am somebody who does not get too worked up about anything until till we're in the dog days of summer.
yeah,
When we start to get in late July and August, that's when I start to get concerned about things. I'm not concerned. Castellanos hitting under 200 right now. He's been hitting the ball hard. He's just been hitting them at people. So
right,
I'm not concerned about that because those balls will start to fall. Rojas having, he's great in the field. He kind of reminds you of Kevin Stocker. Kevin Stocker during that run, like when they were doing really well, like he was terrible at the plate, but you had him out there for defensive purposes.
mhm,
So the fact that they've got Marsh playing left now because they've got Schwarber really more on the DH
yeah,
and not in left field is, we had Rojas because we needed the speed to be able to cover, because he needed to cover some of left. He needed to cover left center and all of center
right,
to be able to do that. And that's why he's here. However, he's going to be a slap hitter. That's what you need him on. You need him any way he can get on base, you get him on base.
right,
Other than that, I'm not concerned about him. I'm not concerned that Harper is started off slow. He's traditionally kind of starts off slow, but it's not really this slow. But again, he's another situation. He's been warning track power. He's been hitting to guys, and guys have been making great plays on the balls.
Yeah.
Like there's been like 3 or 4 catches just within the last week that he's been so frustrated. He's like been throwing his bat down
Mhm.
and getting real angry about it. But even still, has been, these guys are making good plays and, good reads on the ball. So
Yeah.
I think that that's all going to change. I think that once things start to get into May, this team doesn't like to play in the cold. Let's face it.
Exactly. Yep.
So once it gets warm, then they start to get hot.
Yeah.
But that's why in October it's going to be interesting because when it's warm, it's great. As it got cold, like it was cold those last 2 games of the NLCS last year, if you remember. We
Yeah.
were just in Arizona and we came back and there was this monster cold front. We were playing in like 38, 40 degrees.
Yeah.
And as excited as we were out of gas. The fans were out of gas. They were out of gas and they got cold. And this team is meant to win games 7-4. They're not going to win as many games 4-3 and 3-2. And that's what happened. We wound up losing those last 2 games because Arizona was able to play small ball and we weren't hitting the 2-run or 3-run home runs.
Right. Right. Agreed. Yeah. Well, I'm right there with you as far as this being our year. Yep, I told John Middleton the other day at the block party. I told him that. I said, "This is our year." He says, "Well, I hope so." And I was like, "John, hope. Come on, you got to channel Tugger. You got to believe, like, absolutely." So,
Right.
yeah, yeah, I'm
He
totally
doesn't he's another one who does not get, like, he's tempering. He's like, listen, the excitement's going to come later on.
yeah,
You can't win a championship in April, and you can't keep the energy level. Listen, I try my best to keep the energy level as high as I can, but there's only so high I'm going to get in April.
right.
It'll be much higher in October,
Yes,
and that so will everybody else be in that energy level. So I can't wait for that moment, but I still believe, like, I think that we're not going to have the number 1 seed. I think that's going to be Atlanta. I think that we're going to wind up with the wild card. And, it's going to be hard to temper us because last year we wound up having the 2 wild card games at home
right.
and we were excited for those first 2 games.
Hmm.
And then we went to Atlanta and then we came back and we won those 3 games here.
Right.
That we didn't have to go back to Atlanta. And then, it's like it just continues and we were getting tired.
Yeah.
The game 6 and game 7, and was just our energy our the fans' energy level was down because we were exhausted.
Yeah.
We were just tired. And you could even tell the Eagles that were doing great lose for the first time ever to the Jets because they were up watching the Phillies. They were got tired too. It was just like everybody was just exhausted from that run and trying to keep that energy level because it's really difficult to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I hope that we are able to temper it some. We want to be excited. We want to be able to root on our team, but we want it to grow. We want it to be able to, okay, we're going to be okay for this amount, and then, higher for this amount, higher for this amount, and then it culminates with,
Right.
the World Series and the parade.
Yeah. No burning out by July. I hear
Exactly.
you. Well, this has been such a great time, a great talk with you. I know that you have an enormously packed schedule, so I don't want to keep you too long, but I do have a couple people that actually submitted questions for you. So, yeah, let me see. What do we got here? All righty. Well, we have Carolyn in Cherry Hill, and she wants to know who is your favorite Phillies player of all times?
Of all time,
Mhm.
I mean, Mike Schmidt, just right there, Mike Schmidt. Obviously I was young watching him go, and I remember that year when he put the wig on, and it's and then I actually called it correctly. I actually put I won something in the Daily Times. The Daily Times says, "Hey, if you could pick when he was going to have his 500th home run, you'll win $500." And I won the $500
You
because I
did?
actually chose the date and the inning that it was going to be hit. And I hit it like dead on. I'm like, yeah, he's going to, because he hit a lot of home runs early in that season
Yeah.
to get to that point. And it was April 20th in the seventh inning. I called it, and I wound up winning the $500 there. And I got my I think I got myself a bicycle, or my mother got me a
I was gonna
bicycle.
ask you how'd you spend it? That's
Yeah, because
awesome.
I was young. I was really young then. I was only like 8 or 9 years old.
Yeah,
Um,
that's very cool.
but just that he was the guy. He was, I remember watching the World Series win. I remember going back in 1983 where I was a little bit older and thinking that we were going to do it again, and it didn't happen.
Yeah,
So and then when he retired, and it's just like, okay, it's it's his time. So, and we haven't had anybody at that corner since then that's been able to do the things he's been able to do.
right. Agreed. Although Bohm is looking pretty good at third. I've watched him
Yes.
in the last
Yes.
couple of years. My goodness, he's grown so much. He's amazing.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so next question comes from Bay in Nashville, and he's wondering your first time that you decided that it was like literally, technically your first time as the Philly sports guy, like when you actually were like, okay, this is my persona now. So were you scared, nervous? Were you drunk? Like, how'd that go?
So the very first time, I mean, so it was like the first time I ever got painted up, and then the first time actually being the Philly sports guy. Uh, it was interesting. I came back, and the Philly sports guy was kind of created in New Orleans when I went to that game, and yeah, it was the playoff game, and I went into that stadium 3 hours early, and John Clark made a video of me that went viral, was picked up by Bleacher Report and Barstool Sports, and if that video went viral. And so I come back home, and that's when they said, "Hey, we want to do this commercial." I remember being painted up for the commercial, and for some reason or another, this was down in Wilmington, Delaware. For some reason or another, Brent Selleck was on the street
Wow.
across the street from us. So we stopped the shoot. I go run out there, and I'm literally all painted up as the Philly sports guy. And he's eating an ice cream cone.
Oh
You
God.
know what I mean? And I'm like, hey, I'm like, dude, I come out there, and I'm like, hey, he's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm filming a commercial. We saw that you were here. We had to come out and get a picture. So
Exactly.
and that's, and like the ball, I just took the ball and ran with it. And so I nervous, yes, because I never, it was hard to learn talking to a phone.
Yeah.
Like, we talk on the phone every day, but I was filming myself, and I had to get used to talking on the phone.
Yeah.
It was like trying to talk into a mirror and learning that skill. It's not the easiest thing in the world to do.
Right.
But I was able to start to pick it up really easily, and doing my game day videos really kind of helped. It's just like, hey, it's game day, and this is what's going to happen today. We're going to win these games, and go Phillies, or go Sixers, or go Flyers, or go Birds, yeah.
Yeah.
And most of the time during that time, there was a lot of losing. you know,
So
just the Eagles were like 5-11 that year, and yeah, I mean, this was after 2018 we were in the playoffs, and then 2019 we went back to the playoffs. The following year, 2020, we stunk,
yeah.
and then we got rid of Doug Peterson,
Mhm.
and then of course, that started the 2021. It's like, okay, now we got to go with Jalen Hurts, and things have been better
Yeah.
since then, obviously. Uh,
Yes.
but it was a lot of trial and error, a lot of hate, lots of haters. Oh my lord! People once they realized you weren't going away. The first people that come out are the haters,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it like I said, it's taken me 6 years to be that guy that everybody sees
Yeah.
because I'm everywhere,
Yep.
and the camera likes to find me.
Yep. Yep.
So it's part of how I do it. It's like, okay, this is what's going on. This is how it is, and this is where I'm at.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay, our next question comes from James in Pennsauken. And he is wondering, how are you able to go to all of the games? Do you pay for your tickets yourself? Is it sponsor paid? Is it through Philly sports trips or combination? How does that work?
So I do get sponsors.
Mhm.
And some of the revenue that come from sponsors goes to me buying the tickets, but obviously, if I don't have sponsors, I can't go to games. I got to pay for them myself. So I do pay for most of these games myself. Philly Sports Trips obviously helps out. It's great to have a partner like that is excited to have me as part of the team. They want to show me off as well. They know that they get some of the, hey, he's this guy's always on TV. Obviously, he's doing something right. And anytime that there's a meme that has to come out about Philadelphia sports, they use yours truly. You know what I mean? So it's like I am both the face and they said that Tampa game. I mean, I've seen that meme more than anything else when I'm looking just miserable and they're showing me, and you can't help but realize that that's how we all feel.
Yeah.
That I'm just, it's just it you there's no getting angry about it. There's no, I mean, there's some frustration level, but it's just we're not going to do it. You can tell we don't have it today, and there's nothing that I can do. There's no level of excitement that I can do that's going to generate any change. And that's a hard pill to swallow when you're a fan.
Yep. Definitely
So, and
agree.
then I guess like I said, I have very unique things that go viral. Like, so I'm also the sound bite on TikTok for when the season is over, because of I got another game in Tampa Bay where it was just like, hey, we're down by 17, but I didn't hear no bell. This game ain't over yet. And then the very next video I did was like, so the season is over, and
Yeah.
they mashed it together, and that video went mega viral. Like, you know 20, 30 million people using it as a soundbite. Just like, hey, I'm all excited. Yeah, it didn't work out the way I wanted it to.
Yeah.
So that's part of the interesting parts of being me. And but yeah, but I most of the time I have to buy these tickets myself to be fully transparent.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Mike in New Jersey here. Wanted to know how you feel about putting advertising on sports jerseys and most especially Phillies.
So this is a hard question. Listen, they make tons of money already. If they're going to put something on the shoulder, I get it. I understand. It's somebody's paying a lot of money to do that, and it's usually like insurance company or something of that nature that's doing that.
Mhm.
I understand it. I do the same thing. I will put stickers on my shoulders because I take so many pictures, and it's valuable real estate because it's in so many social media posts. It's in everything. You get to see it all the time, just like they would over there. As long as it's not too grandiose, you don't want to have something. You don't want it to be, you know, Rocco's bail bonds, or what I mean, or like, hey, you got the Packer meat, Packer meats or whatever for Rocky and stuff like that. It's you want to make sure that it's appropriate,
Right.
and not that it doesn't take over the uniform.
Agreed. Agreed. Definitely don't want one of it to look like, one of those cars with the bumper stickers from, peace, love, and this and that. And yeah, yeah,
Right.
Definitely. And he also wondered what your prediction is for the Eagles this coming season. With
I think there's going to be a monster turnaround this year. I think that last year it was a little bit of a wake up call. I feel that there was something that had occurred that kind of dictated how the back end of the season went. I think that that problem got resolved, and that they will be in a much better space this year moving forward. I have them at least going to the NFC Championship game, and then we'll see after that.
awesome, awesome. And Carrie in Wilmington wants to know what's your funniest experience as the Philly sports guy?
The funniest experience as the Philly sports guy. You know, I I guess the funniest is more rain days.
Mhm.
Getting caught in the rain. I mean, I melt obviously,
Yes,
and it creates different videos because of that. Like, obviously, if I'm at a Phillies game and it's raining and I'm like a drenched rat, I have a different look. And I don't leave games early. Like, typically, I am there to the end
right,
because I have to do the, hey, we just won this game video. So there are times when that really works out well, and sometimes it doesn't. And if I look like a drowned rat, it makes things more comical in general.
right.
Um, talking about how it's a beautiful day and in a pouring rainstorm. It's obviously it's okay. That's very sarcastic, but that's really it. I mean, I've had different situations with people where things occur, but nothing that's ever been too outlandish or too crazy. Uh, other than like just like I said, getting caught in the rain or dealing with fans from different fan bases and having great banter back and forth, or you know, getting under the skin of a whole fan base. Like, I remember after we won the Super Bowl and going to Minnesota that next year, I was there and I literally had four sections of people sing to me, "Na na na na, hey hey hey, goodbye."
Oh my
You know what I
goodness,
mean? And it was amazing because literally the whole half of a stadium, a whole quarter of a stadium, is singing this to me.
that's awesome.
You know what I mean? So it's like that that is hysterical to me. You know what I mean? Because obviously at that point I'm taking bows because it was
Yeah,
they had such a good time with me. And
right.
that's all. Like, I'm not that guy. I'm not going to be like, get out of here, man. I'm like trying to start fights. We lost that game. Didn't matter. They weren't going to win the Super Bowl that game. So they beat us and it was fine. I was like, okay, it is what it is. And but those moments are fun, and great moments to be a part of.
Yeah, I bet. So I personally have a question, and this might seem like a really silly question, but you end every video with "Yeah." How did that come to be?
So this goes back to learning how to do social media.
Mhm.
Uh, I went and I did my research, and there were a few people that, like, when you go and you go to YouTube these things and you start to see some of that stuff, there were a few people that said, listen, you need to do this. You need to start out a very specific way. Don't expect that anybody knows who you are or what it is you're doing. So always kind of announce yourself, what's going on, and then always end a very similar way, and get a tagline.
Yep. Yep.
And I was like, I don't know where the yeah came from. Like, I'm just like, go birds. Yeah. You know what I mean? I think it just started, and then everybody was like, I was doing like the Hawaiian punch going through the wall. Oh yeah. And it was like, I'm not doing oh yeah. I'm just doing yeah. So people get to hear it. They all hear it differently,
Mhm.
but ultimately it just kind of stuck. And people liked it. They're like I'd have people go, "Yeah," so that was always kind of my thing, and just I just kept it.
Yeah, it's become so trademark. I mean, I've had a couple people just in discussing the fact that we were going to be doing this tonight. They're like, "Oh, that guy," and he's always like, "Yeah," and I'm like, "Yep, that's him. Yep,
Well,
definitely."
because it's such an exciting word. Yeah, you know what I mean. It's just it brings up the level of excitement without really saying much.
Exactly.
It's just it's just fun. It's just good, and it's a great word. It's energy. It's got tons of energy just in that one syllable, and
Definitely.
you can't go wrong with it.
And when you do it, you smile. Even if I don't know whether you're always intending to smile, but your natural expression with it, you're smiling. So it does. It brings a lot of joy and just that added excitement. So, yeah, definitely.
Exactly, and you can't help it. It's yeah. It brings it out. Like it's just the way you say. You can't be like yeah. It doesn't look right. It's like you have to be a little uppity about it, and because of that, it brings the excitement. And when I yell yeah, and it's usually like at a Phillies game or a Flyers game or a Sixers game, Eagles, everybody around me is going yeah, like they're cheering as well. So
Yeah,
it gets the energy level going throughout. It just you know makes it contagious.
yeah, definitely. Well, Jamie, I really want to thank you. I'm so grateful and I am so excited to see things just continue to grow for you. And I'm really proud of you because you work so hard at what you do. And oh my goodness, you were at the bank at like 6 a.m. the other day for opening day. Um,
Oh,
you're everywhere and I know a lot of it sometimes is a thankless job, but I wanted you to be on this first episode because I love what you do, and I think that you are so good at it. And yeah, yeah.
well, and I appreciate that, and I really do appreciate the people that follow me, and that obviously I'm not everybody's cup of tea, and I don't try to. I don't want to be the one that speaks for somebody who doesn't want me speaking for them. But my goal was to bring the game and the in-game experience to the people that can't be there and the people that follow. And I the feedback has been so tremendous that I have, for every hater, I have 25 people that come up and say, "Man, I love what you do. It's great to see you with the kids. It's like you never turn down a picture. You're always positive. You're always doing that thing. Like I don't boo. I don't ever curse. It's like it's part of the fabric of what you want a Philadelphia fan to be. Not that we're always that way, and trust me, no one likes us and we don't care is definitely a part of our fabric here. But that doesn't mean that, yeah, most of our fans are more like me than we are like the ones that are the outliers and cause the problems.
Agreed. Agreed. But we will wear that badge of honor of being the most obnoxious fan base. Oh yeah, absolutely. We'll own that.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Especially when ESPN uses me as the picture. Like,
That's
hey, NFL
right.
NFL teams voted that the Eagles are the most annoying fan base, and I was like, that's awesome. That is great that everybody thinks that way in the NFL, because I want to be annoying to them. I'm not trying to be, I'm not rooting on them. So if I can annoy them and get under their skin, great.
Yep. Absolutely. Right there with you. Definitely. Well, thank you so much. Again, I'm just really, really grateful. And I had a great time hanging with you tonight and talking about our teams and all of the energy and excitement that you bring in connecting so many people and the game. And man, how about let's go Phillies? Yeah.
That We could definitely do that. Well, I appreciate you having me. I wish you the best of luck with this.
Thank
Like I said, sometimes it's not the easiest in the world to do. I know that I'm easy to talk to sometimes, and I can just start to ramble on. It's the
you.
harder ones are the ones that you have to get and crank out some of
Yeah,
these answers
pull it out.
from.
Yes.
So good luck with that because I know exactly how that is. But I wish you the best of luck with everything. And as always, let's go Phillies. Yeah.
All righty. Thank you, Jamie. I'll talk to you later. Have a great night.
Take care.
All righty. Bye bye.